The 7 terms that you need to understand in your short-term disability policy or plan if you're applying for benefits because of COVID. Welcome back to this series. In part 1, I talked about specific disability terms in a plan or policy that are crucial. That includes the definition of disability, the definition of occupation. We talked about elimination periods, and we talked about exclusions. In the conclusion of this series, I want to talk with you about a number of other terms. One of these terms that's important are policy limitations. Many policies will provide the benefits are limited to just 2 years for medical conditions that are caused or contributed to by psychiatric conditions. So you may legitimately be depressed because of COVID, but your benefits ultimately might be limited if your policy says, hey, if you suffer from depression that contributes to your disability, regardless of the cause, your benefits are limited to just 2 years. Or you might see a limitation in the policy for subjective medical conditions, complaints of pain, dizziness, fatigue, and some of the other COVID symptoms can be considered subjective in nature, and as a result, potentially there might be an application of a policy limitation period, and that's more likely true in a long-term disability claim. One of the other things you need to understand is offsets. Now, what the right hand gives, the left hand can take away. By that I mean, if you are collecting sick pay, vacation pay, or using other employer benefits, it might be that that short-term disability plan says we get to reduce your benefits by that. There is another provision that you need to be concerned with as it relates to offsets. I have long COVID clients who have contracted COVID in the course of their employment, be they doctors, nurses, first responders, and some of them are collecting workers' compensation benefits. The short-term disability carrier is taking the position that, based on the language in the policy or plan, we don't have to pay you any benefits so long as you're collecting workers' comp benefits. So that's really important to understand, and that particularly can be true if you move into a long-term disability claim. There is generally, again, a dollar-for-dollar offset for money benefits that may ultimately reduce your long-term disability benefits to a $100 minimum mandatory. That doesn't mean you don't want to apply for long-term disability benefits, because if you're particularly working for a municipality, sometimes the employer will require that you be collecting workers' comp benefits and also collecting, if you will, your short or long-term disability benefits so that you remain eligible for things like group health benefits or life insurance benefits. And again, this is a case-by-case type situation. Now, the other thing I think you need to understand, as you probably have figured out, is there's a difference between what's in a disability insurance policy or plan in a short-term disability setting as opposed to what's in that policy or plan for long-term disability benefits. Often the definition of disability, occupation is different. The elimination periods may be different. There might be the policy exclusions or policy limitations, all of which, again, can be different from the short-term disability policy or plan. Similarly, with offsets, I've seen differences between what's offsettable in a short-term disability policy or plan and what's offsettable in a long-term disability policy or plan. As you can see, this can be complicated, and if you have questions about your rights to short or long-term disability benefits as a result of COVID, please call me at 727-894-3188 for a complimentary consultation. I represent people in all occupations with all disability carriers or employers across the United States. 727-894-3188 for a complimentary consultation.